Well, g'day there. This is just a short presentation to help some of the people who were at the conference in Perth back in March and still having a little bit of difficulty trying to get their head around an identity card. So hopefully with this you might be able to get the final pieces of the puzzle and get on your way. So let's have a look at how the system works. Anyone can set up as a government. There isn't a monopoly on government, but it's just that some people have been better at setting up their governments than others. So the companies that run New Zealand, Australia, America, England, etc., they've put very good systems in place, and they've tricked us into believing that we must belong to their corporation, uh, when in fact we don't have to, because they operate under statutes and codes, and they trick us with these statutes and codes because they have uh, cops and they have magistrates and judges and things like that to try and trick us into believing that everything is true when in fact it's actually a mirror image of the truth. So they they will give us passports, they'll give us licenses, but the moment we grab one of those things, we have enrolled in their system and we must abide by company policy. On the other hand, if we want to stay in the private as a man or an individual, we come under the law, not under codes and statutes, okay? And we have to have a certificate of identity to identify ourselves to that public corporation to say, hey, look, we don't want to belong to your system. So let's have a bit more in depth at how we can get the certificate of identity, so that they can have a look at it and say, oh, sorry, you're not one of ours. And that's what they will do when you present this certificate of identity. So let's see where the problem lies. And it's all comes about from the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. We've identified ourselves as the Holy Ghost, or the dead fiction, because when we were born, they stole our crown. The Father created the Son. My Father created me, the Son. Then He registered me, and so I identified myself as the Holy Ghost, which is actually the birth certificate. And it's a dead fiction. So everything I've done to get my bank accounts, licenses, everything, I've produced that dead fiction certificate, and I'll keep mentioning that word, certificate, because that's all they can see, these corporations. They need to see a certificate and need you to enroll under that certificate. So now we've got to go in and correct the record. And when you look at us, we hold about 80% water, so we are vessels. Ships are vessels. Everything is a mirror image. So as we hold water, we are vessels. And now we need to register our vessel and show them our registration so that they will leave us alone. Now, there are three statutes that we have to look at before we can complete this process. Okay, so the first one is, this is from New Zealand statutes. You'll have the same ones all around the world. Flags, Emblems and Name Protection Act 1981. And this is in the interpretation section, which is section 2. In this act, unless the context otherwise required, coat of arms or arms means any object or figure being a symbolic representation displayed in colours on a shield in conformity with the principal rules of heraldry, with or without any crown. Now, we've already spoken about the crown, and when I was in Perth there, I showed you the Don McLean song where it says the jester stole his thorny crown. And this is what they did. They stole our crown at birth. So we're going to get a bit deeper with that a little further on. But emblem means any device, seal, mark, trademark, badge, symbol, design, logo type, whether on a flag, banner, sign. Okay, so you can identify yourself under any one of these flags, emblems, or whatever, and you have the name protection to go with it. Hope you're getting that. Okay, now the second law we're going to look at is the Maritime Law. And this is the Ship Registration Act. Now, registration will become more apparent later on. The power to disallow proposed name and to allow change of name. Okay, this is where we have to change our name. Okay, so now I'd like you to probably pause here and read right through this, but for the benefit of this exercise, I'm going to go down to F. Now, the registrar may disallow any name registered or proposed to be registered in respect of a ship or vessel if that name, now we go down to F, is the name New Zealand without a prefix or suffix, unless the name is proposed to be used by the Crown. Okay, so now the Crown, I already told you about the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is the Crown, is the sovereign, is the surname. Get that clear. The Holy Ghost is the Crown, is the sovereign, is the surname. Okay, so moving right along to section 58 of the same act. Flags authorized under prerogative. Now, prerogative is a right. Now, here once again you'll see, despite section 58 or any other enactments, the powers of the sovereign, which is the Crown, which is the Holy Ghost, which is the surname, the sovereign, but it also identifies their sovereign. Their sovereign is the Governor General. So they're giving us the public and the private in both these acts. They're giving us the public and the private. We need to identify. We cannot be the sovereign. It is the surname that's the sovereign. Okay, now, to establish a new flag which may be flown by a particular New Zealand ship or any class of New Zealand ship. So we're going to be a vessel, so we can fly the flag. Now, it's up to you to choose which flag or ensign you're going to use, and you saw that in the first part there, but we'll come to that a bit later anyway. Now, the second act is the Passports Act 1992. Sorry, the third act, isn't it? The interpretation. In this act, unless the context otherwise requires, certificate of identity means a document other than a passport or an emergency travel document issued by the government of any country. Now, I think this is where most people fall down, is because they don't understand what a country is. Let's have a look. By country is meant the state of which one is a member. Every man's country is, in general, the state in which he happens to have been born. Now, I don't know about you, but I was born naked. Now, I can also get in another state. I can get in a drunken state. I can get in a drug-induced state. I can get in a happy state, a grumpy state, whatever state I want to be. You need to understand that a country is whatever state you want it to be. This is your government, okay? You must state and declare your country. Okay, now, once again, we've got the certificate of identity of our own government because we have declared what state we're in. We'll come to this anyway. So the certificate of identity. Go carefully over the ship registration slide and decide what flag, emblem or crest you are going to use. Check out what the private company uses to identify you and copy that if you want to, or make your own one, which I'll give you an example of. The things you're going to need, you'll need a photo, a flag and a barcode, okay? Now, I say flag very loosely because you can use your family crest, you can use whatever you want. It's your government, so you can do whatever you want. Okay, now here's an example of my one, and I'm already using this, and I'm telling you, it works. Now, the three things you'll see on there there's four things. Is the certificate is the only thing that the government of any country can see is a certificate. Now, if you look on the right-hand side there, there's an ugly old fella there. That is the vessel. Up in the top left-hand corner is the flag that vessel is now going to be flying under. And down the bottom is the barcode, which we will come to very shortly. So here's the process. You get a registered mail envelope and you remove the barcode, or you can take a a scan of the barcode if you can get a high enough resolution of the barcode, but you're going to need to place that on your identity card. If you can scan it and just flick it onto documents, that's even easier. It's the best way to go. Now you post the identity card to yourself in the registered mail envelope. And there's a very good reason for this, because it is now registered with the Universal Postal Union. Now you have a registered certificate of identity, and this is your own government. And they know that tampering with the mail is a serious offence, so they're not going to be doing that. Okay? Now, I want you to do your own research, guys. There's enough information in there, but you need to go over it slowly and carefully. And boy, some of the people over there, the trouble that you keep getting yourself into by not opening letters and doing all these other crazy action. I don't know who the so-called gurus were who gave that, and I don't really want to know, but you're going to have to start acting as a government, acting responsible, using your own register, and starting to take careful note of all the things you do, keeping good copies, keeping everything documented, and only giving them copies of what you have. Never give them the originals. Okay, so you post the originals to yourself and you keep them, and then you give them certified true copies with your own certified true stamps. Okay, but do not trust some of those people who keep getting you deeper and deeper into the doo-doos, and start with your identity card. Hope this has been of help.